to talk about Saw Palmetto, another hormone balancing herb that is terrific. It grows in America. It is wonderful. It's a very dark, rich berry that is full of oils and nutrients. It is a berry that when powdered, it can actually has so much oil in it, it can go rancid. So it's something that you need to kind of keep in a cool, dry place so the oils don't go rancid in it. The Native Americans used it a lot. They used it not only for food, but they used it for many other things, including the Mayan have a lot of records of using the Saw Palmetto berry. It was used to gain strength and weight for people who are too thin and not strong enough. It's used for digestion. They used it for all kinds of digestion problems. They used it to actually treat their dysentery. They used it for urinary tract problems. They also used it for any kind of breast disorders. Hundreds and hundreds of years ago, they used it for breast disorders. And they also used it as an aphrodisiac. The early American settlers, which I'm sure they learned it from the Native Americans, they used it for any type of reproduction dysfunction that was going on in the body. And they also used it as a sedative because it helps relax the body, but also as a general health. Kind of like we might take a synthetic vitamin. They used it to eat because it was full of nutrients. One of the herbalists from hundreds of years ago used to talk about how bad it tasted. A lot of the Native Americans ate it as food, but the settlers weren't used to that taste, and they said, oh, it tastes like rotten cheese dipped in tobacco juice, is what he said, that just eating it plain by itself. In the 1800s, there was a Harvard botanist that he started feeding it and looking at the research when they fed it to the animals, and the animals that were skinny and malnourished, and it made them sleek, with lots of muscle, but fat, and it also helped their digestion and the strength of the animals. The animals actually became stronger. And that was in the 1800s, they had that information. They would recommend it in the 1800s for wasting disease and anybody who was weak or had any kind of testicular or prostate problems at all going on, clear back in the 1800s here in America. In 1897, a doctor wrote about how it would induce sleep and how it worked on the glands and it helped induce sleep. I have people who come up to me, or guys especially, who come up to me and say, you're having me take this at night, but what is in there that makes me sleep? If you take it in the daytime, it doesn't make you sleepy, but if you take it before bedtime, it definitely helps your body to calm down and to be able to get a really good night's sleep. They also used it for coughing and also for strength. In the 1900s, it became very popular in European countries and in America to use it for urinary infections for women and men, but also for prostate problems. It dropped off in America. It's not used with the introduction of drugs for prostate enlargement and things and urinary problems. It stopped being used so much in America, but took off in Europe and is used so much over in Europe. They use it in New Zealand, in Germany, in France, in Austria, in Italy, in Spain. They use it all over in many other countries, and that's what is normal for them, to use it. But in America, it's not usually that normal anymore and not recommended by doctors very much. Once in a while. In the 1990s, it gained popularity because some of the herbalists and some people would start talking about it for prostate problems and for male health. It's known as a male herb. And they started to use it a lot and it became very popular. It happens to be one of the #1 most purchased herb in America, best-selling herb in America, because there was a lot of information out there. I remember, I think it was about maybe a year or two ago, there was a study that came out, and I always pay attention to those studies, especially if they have to do with herbs. And they said, oh, we found that Saw Palmetto does not work for men for prostate problems or reducing urinary flow at night. And it was interesting that I would have men come in and talk to me and they would say, yeah, I read that study. Well, it worked for me. They didn't test me because it just kind of was embarrassing because there was a lot of laughter. In fact, Europe laughed at us about that study. It was ridiculous because they used a teeny little amount of it. They didn't give it to them on a regular basis. They gave it to them daily, but only once, and it's better taken at night. It works really well at night, but they did a small, teeny amount, and they said there's no benefits associated with it. Shortly after that, we saw on TV brand new medicine out for stopping urinary problems at night for men and enlarged prostate. Happens to be the same company that sponsored this research that said Saw Palmetto didn't work. Interesting, huh? So, just a point of interest. I'm not saying anything about it. I'm just saying we need to look at that, because oftentimes these things happen so much that it's starting to become, laughable. That it's just so important for us to take care of our own health. I mean, that was news to the millions of American men who were taking Saw Palmetto, and it helped them dramatically. It is one of those herbs that regulates hormone balance in the body, Saw Palmetto does, and it also helps with glandular tissues, and it also helps with assimilation, to assimilating nutrients in the body. That's why it works so well for people who have wasting disease, where they can't assimilate nutrients very well. It also helps, and this was an interesting study, with blood sugar. It helps the body normalize blood sugar in people who have diabetes, and helps their pancreas function better. It helps with ovarian problems, all kinds of ovarian problems, and also helps restore sexual desire in men and women. It is something that is used to help strengthen the thyroid and to have blood flow to all the sex organs, male or female. And it also is used for any kind of disease or problem in the reproductive organs, any kind. Enlarged prostate, high PSA, or BPH, those are markers that they test men to see how their prostate is doing and what's going on there. And there are a lot of studies showing that it helps normalize those levels and gets the body back into balance. There is also the DHT, the dihydrotestosterone that I talked to you about. Too much of it can cause alopecia in women, which their hair falls out, or male pattern baldness. Too much causes that, the dihydrotestosterone. So this helps to balance that out and make that not as aggressive, not as much dihydrotestosterone in the body. Balance it out and normalize it. Because you want to have DHT, dihydrotestosterone in the body. Women don't want to have a lot of it. Men want to have more, but not as much, so that it causes, because it's that thing I talked to you about, it makes men have facial hair and makes men have deep voice and strong muscles and to have more sex drives than women. That's the DHT. But too much of it can cause the opposite effect. It causes you to lose muscle mass, causes you to prematurely age, it causes you to have erectile dysfunction, it can cause you to have no sex drive, it can cause problems like that. So this is a great herb to balance that out. I found that Saw Palmetto works the very best combined with other herbs. The herbs I like in it are blessed thistle and dong quai, wild yam, some of those that are considered female herbs with this male herb. And they seem to work really, really well together. It helps with urinary flow if you're having a problem urinating, especially men. But here's the interesting thing. There's studies showing that it dramatically reduces the frequency of men getting up at night to go to the bathroom. In fact, almost completely can make it go away. Of course, they're not in this country, they're in other countries, but in Europe where they're studying this type of information. And we had to dig back in a lot of really old books to find the information for women and Saw Palmetto. It's a really rich, dark herb that's so full of those oils that it's hard to put it in a capsule. In fact, this was the herb that triggered us to have to re-engineer the first machine we had, because it wouldn't put these oily herbs in the capsules. So if you get Saw Palmetto in a capsule, you're going to have to just make sure they're not putting other things in it. They usually put flowing agents in it, or rice powder, or they'll put in something like, dilute it down with stearic acid or magnesium stearate. One of the new things that they were doing at the new production shows that we've been to, where they spray an oil on the machine to slide it through. And it's not even, it's food grade oil, but it's synthetic. And so we want to make sure that we just have pure herbs in our formulas. If you're going to take Saw Palmetto in a capsule, just make sure it's straight Saw Palmetto. You don't need anything else. You don't need it watered down. They need to be able to put it in a capsule without heating it up to over 213 degrees. That's why they put flowing agents in it, because it heats these herbs up. And the machines are running so fast to capsulate as fast as they can to keep up with demand. It heats up the herbs. It destroys the enzymes, destroys what I call the firecracker that makes them absorb in the body. And you have heated herbs. You want to have raw herbs to make them most effective. And I don't think Saw Palmetto works well for men, in my experience, with synthetic vitamins in the formula. A lot, in fact, most of them have B vitamins added to it and other vitamins added to Saw Palmetto as a prostate formula. And in my experience, I have not seen that work well for guys. It tends to inhibit the reduction of some of those hormones that they want to reduce in the body, and some of those markers that are causing the problems. I talked to you a little bit about that it soothes, mucous membranes and things like that, but it helps remove mucus from the head, the throat, from air passages. And this is actually a study showing that for people who have chronic bronchitis or asthma, it helps remove mucus from the body. Now there's a little thing, and most women notice this little thing about Saw Palmetto, that it always says helps with weight gain. Now every woman in America wants that, right? But here's the caveat with that. If you are malnourished and you're not eating good food or taking a lot of nutrients into your body, it could cause weight gain. If you're starting to cause you to have weight gain, then you need to do a couple of things. You can either take it in a liquid form with a lot of other herbs, female herbs, with it to help kind of balance that out. Start eating more nutrients in your body. Getting lots of greens and good food. You're eating too much junk if it's causing weight gain because you're malnourished, and so your body's putting on weight, trying to get you to have more health on your body. And so sometimes it can cause you to have weight gain. Now I've seen women take it and have weight loss, because sometimes women will take the combination of hormone balancing herbs and their weight gain is due to hormonal imbalances, and they immediately lose 20 pounds. So that might be the experience that you have too. But if you have any type of weight gain associated with it, look at your diet and what is going on there. Because the other property that Saw Palmetto is good for, this is one of those things where we have opposite explanations of what this herb's used for: weight gain, but it also helps the body with obesity. It is known to make the body more sleek and more muscly too, and it can help you reduce the actual fat in the body, but you have to have enough nutrients in the body. You can't have wasting disease. I know people who are overweight and they have wasting disease. The reason why their body won't let go of any of the weight is because it's holding on to what it has, because it doesn't want to let go of any of the energy and strength, because it doesn't know when the next nutrient's going to come in, because we're living on, white flour and white sugar and processed foods and processed meats and all kinds of things like that. We're not eating greens and fruits and vegetables and whole grains. We need to be eating those abundantly in our body. If you eat like that, your body will respond and your body will start to heal. An interesting thing about Saw Palmetto that I have to talk about is the effect it has on women's breasts. The healthiness that it seems to bring to women's breast tissue. Now, I'm going to talk to you about this because of my experience with it. I had a gal come to me, think of how long ago, 15 or 16 years ago, and she had some infertility problems. She couldn't get pregnant. She'd been trying for 8 years. So I mixed up a formula for her to help her balance her hormones, because that's what I thought was wrong with her. And it had Saw Palmetto in it, and that was one of the main ingredients in it. Well, she did get pregnant after 5 months, but after just 3 months, she came to me and said, "My breasts have grown from an A cup to a C cup in 3 months." And I thought, wow, that's interesting, until she started telling everybody. And so people started knocking on my door, until I had a line of women waiting outside my door for this formula. And I thought, what's the deal? And then I started getting a lot of attention for that, for discovering that women can balance their body, and their body takes care of itself. See, it's not the herbs that make the breast tissue grow and develop, right? It is your body. Because, you know, as a girl in puberty is going to go through it anyway, and she's either going to grow breasts or she's not going to grow breasts. She's either going to grow them big or she's going to grow them little, right? Depending on a couple things, her DNA and her nutrition level. And if she's not well nourished, like a lot of us are not, then she is going to have an issue there. They usually do. And so a lot of them are underdeveloped, have underdeveloped breasts or overdeveloped breasts. And that becomes an issue either way. And so I started looking at this and started giving this to thousands of women and started getting a lot of attention. And of course, there were tons of copycat formulas that came out right after that. But here's the interesting thing. In my old history books, my old herb books, turn of the century medical books that quoted a lot of old historians and old herbalists and doctors, they talked about healthy breast tissue. And what's the problem in America right now? Breast cancer problems. Unhealthy breast tissue, right? We all want healthy breast tissue. And so Saw Palmetto is one of those herbs that I came across and mixed up formula, hormone balancing formula that helped women's breast tissue develop. Now, here's a couple things. If they smoked, it didn't really work very well for women who smoked. But it seemed to work for about 80% of the women very, very effectively. And that was all the cool stuff about breast enhancement. Everybody was so excited about it. And I traveled all over the country in North America talking about it and became kind of known for that. And gosh, but the real attention, the real thing that came from it, healthy, perky, wonderful breasts was really sexy and cool and got the media's attention. But the women and their heartfelt testimonies about how it helped them with PMS and painful periods and headaches and menopause symptoms and all of these things that women were suffering from. All of a sudden, the size of their breasts didn't matter so much. They're pretty happy they developed a couple inches, but that almost didn't matter anymore. What mattered to them was how they felt. And they were pretty happy up here and here. Everything started balancing in their body. So when your hormones are balanced, you feel better and you feel like you can fly and you feel like you can do anything. And that's what was really cool about it. And I had a separate men's formula that I would give to my dad and my husband and everybody around me. And I ran out of that, and I had this female hormone balancing, what I think was a female hormone balancing formula. And so my dad came to me and he said, "Oh, I'm getting up all night, go in the bathroom, I need something with Saw Palmetto." So I gave him a bottle of it. And it worked better than the traditional herbs just for hormone balancing for men. Why? I think because it had female herbs in it. And my studies showed that, oh, they have female hormones too. I think that's a secret they don't want out. I don't know. But they have female hormones too, and they need balance. And they are it's wreaking havoc in men's bodies, all these female hormone mimickers that are happening. You know, one of the fastest growing disease in America is, in men, breast cancer. Speechless. They shouldn't be getting breast cancer. Why are they getting breast cancer? Because they've got female hormones going on. It's rampant. You know, you see some of these young kids. I'll go, you know, with my family to amusement park or something, and we'll go and we see a lot of these teenage kids, and these guys are like, some of them are pear-shaped, and that's like a woman's hormone balancing shape that's out of whack, right? That's not guys. They usually are not like that. And I just think, oh, if I could just tell them about herbs, it would change that teenager boy's life. It would help them. They're not supposed to gain a lot of weight and be really put on weight like girls have more fat than guys. They're not supposed to normally do that. It's hormones. I think it's hormones. And we need to tell them. We need to help them. You know how it is. I mean, they're struggling. So this is some information that really needs to be out there and really needs to be shared because it can help them. The red raspberry can help them. The chaseberries can help them. The wild yam could help them. The saw palmetto could help them. A lot of these different herbs that are so healing and nourishing for the body can totally help these kids that are struggling so much, much less us older kids, older people. But they are the future of America and the world, so we need to help them. So saw palmetto is one of those herbs that you really should consider eating and seeing how it works in your body, mixing it with other herbs and seeing how you feel when your body gets really great nutrients and your body's able to balance itself.